Hey everybody, thanks for watching. So the intelligent flight modes. One of the most widely used and probably one of the most popular is the active track intelligent flight mode on the Mavic Pro. And I think most of you probably know what the active track does, but what I wanted to do today is see actually how intelligent this flight mode is. So let's check it out. Okay, so I have two awesome volunteers here today. I have my two boys, my oldest and my youngest, and we're gonna do all three modes of the active track. And what I wanted to do is kind of see how good it was at staying locked on the subject that you set it to lock onto. And so we're gonna play around with it a little bit and see how good it keeps track of its subject. So let's get the Mavic up in the air and set it on active track, and let's see how it does. Okay, so we're going to activate the active track, which is right here. And then what I'm going to do is draw a box around my oldest boy. Once that says OK, you go ahead and click on OK, and it automatically goes into trace mode, which is the first one. And what the Mavic is going to do, it's going to follow him around wherever he goes. The Mavic's going to move around as well as the gimbal to keep him in the frame. So I'm just going to have him move around a little bit and see how it keeps up with him.
That's good.
Okay, so now what I'm going to have him do, I'm going to have him kind of play with his little brother a little bit, kind of wrestle around, and we're just going to see if the Mavic can stay locked on to him. They love wrestling each other. Okay, so as you can see, it actually stayed locked on to my oldest boy. Even though they were kind of wrestling around a little bit, it had trouble just for a second. It was locked on to my younger boy, but then it picked up again when they separated. So it did pretty good. So let's go ahead and stop it now. And let's enable the active track. Let's trace around him again. We're going to put it into profile mode. And now we're going to see how it does keeping up with him in profile mode. Okay, so you can see there that it actually lost track of him when he ran too fast underneath it. And so I think there's some limitations with the profile mode as opposed to the trace mode. Basically with the profile mode, once you set your subject to keep track of, the drone will keep that same angle and stay on the same side of the subject. So no matter where you go, the Mavic is going to follow you, but stay on that same plane and stay on that same side of you. So it won't rotate around you. It's going to stay that same distance and follow you from side to side. we're just going to go ahead and switch right to spotlight. And basically this is my favorite active track mode. I like the the spotlight mode, because the Mavic sits right where you set it. It's almost like a tripod mode, but what it does, it actually follows your subject no matter where it goes. So it stays where it's at, and it will follow your subject, and it will rotate around to keep up with your subject, and it'll keep the gimbal in line with your subject as well. So I think I like this mode the best. This is probably the one that I would use the most out of the active tracking. In the spotlight mode, you can lower and raise your Mavic, and so you can kind of change the landscape around you. You can get a nice closer view, or you can get up nice and high. Let's see how it does in spotlight mode when they wrestle. So there you go, it actually stayed on lock with him. Now, one thing that might be interesting, I'm wondering if it can lock on him better because he has a brightly colored shirt and the contrast is different as compared to the background. I wonder how it would do if they both kind of had the same color or the same shade of clothing on. I'm guessing that it wouldn't do as good of a job. I think it does well because it does have that brighter color and it does have that contrast with the background. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to check out with the active tracking mode is I wanted to see how it kept track of the subject if it was obstructed by some trees or buildings or something like that. So what I want to do now is I'm going to put the Mavic up in the air, I'm going to hop in my pickup, we're just going to drive around the neighborhood and we're going to see if the Mavic can follow us in active tracking mode. So let's get it up and see how it does. Okay guys, so I'm going to walk you through this after the fact. And the reason being, I had my children in the pickup with me while we were driving around. And even though I was narrating it as I drove, there was just too much noise in there. So I'm just going to do this after the fact. And so I'm just going to play it on my computer and kind of walk you through it. I'm going to fast forward through a lot of the parts because it actually got to be a little bit long. So what I did first, of course, I just locked onto the pickup and left it into trace mode, and I wanted to see how it did. And as I started to travel down the road, the Mavic kept track for just a little bit, but then as you can see right here, it actually slowed down and the distance between us got further. So like right here, the Mavic's going like 2 miles per hour and I'm traveling about 10 miles per hour. Maybe 8 to 10 miles per hour is about the speed that I drove. And then you'll see here that it kind of just all of a sudden decides to pick up speed and try to catch up to us. And so, you know, it gets up to about, I think 11 or 12 miles per hour, and then it kind of slows down. And so what I did is I slowed down to try to allow it to catch up to us, but it never did. It just kind of stayed that far away from the vehicle, and so, you know, I was having a little bit of trouble with that. And then we came upon some evergreen trees, and I suspected that it was probably going to lose signal right there, and of course it did. And so what I did is I waited until we got underneath those trees, and then I locked back onto it, and it did capture a signal right there. But here's another example of where the Mavic did not keep up with us. Right now the Mavic is going 0.2 miles per hour. Actually, it kind of stopped and it just followed us with the gimbal, which is cool. But you know, it's my understanding that with active tracking, the Mavic stays the same distance away from you that you set it at originally. And then it did lose signal again behind those evergreens and behind some more trees. And so as soon as I got around the corner, I stopped and I tried to regain a connection, and I did. And once I regained connection, I started to drive away, and here it kind of worked a little bit. The Mavic actually came towards us as I was driving towards it, and that's normal, I think. That's what it's supposed to do. But then you'll notice right here, as we drove past it, it stayed still, and then it just kind of followed us. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. And when I got around the corner, I decided I wanted to try the profile mode and see if that did any better. And so I moved the Mavic over to the side of the vehicle. I lowered it down just a little bit. I locked on profile mode, and it followed us in profile mode for a little bit until we turned this corner. As soon as we turned the corner, it kind of went back into trace mode. It went out of profile mode and went into trace mode. Part of that could have been those trees right there, and so I'm giving it a little bit of slack there, but it did not pick us back up again. It kind of slowed down. Like right now it's going 1 mile per hour, and it kept connection. You know, it was able to stay locked on as we traveled down the road here. But then when we traveled underneath the trees, it lost signal again. And when I got around to the corner, I decided I wanted to try the profile mode just one more time and see if that would work. So I locked it on. I traveled about 100 feet and it lost signal again. I reconnected the signal, and as I drove away, it went back into trace mode. So I gotta say I was a little disappointed in the active tracking with a vehicle. I was very pleased with it in the yard, working with my children, playing in the yard. I think it did a great job there. But I had a problem here with the vehicle. Now part of it could have been the trees. Granted, there was some obstructions there, but there was times where I was wide open and there was no obstructions and it lost signal, or it stayed still. It didn't follow us. And so I think what I'm going to do right now is I am actually going to call DJI Customer Support and find out if I was doing something wrong or if they have any suggestions. The other thing that I wanted to talk to them about, and I wanted to ask them, is when you first engage active tracking mode, you'll see that on your screen pops up speed priority slider, and you can move that speed priority thing up and down. I can't find anything online on what that actually is for. What I'm assuming is that you want to set that speed priority to whatever anticipated speed, maximum speed that you're going to be traveling with your vehicle or as a person or whatever, but I'm not sure, and I can't find anything on the manual. I can't find anything on the forums or on YouTube. So I'm going to ask the DJI support representative if he can explain that to me as well. So let's get on the phone, let's call DJI and see if we can get some information on why the active tracking was not working for me.
Thank you for calling DJI Tech Support. This is Charlie. How can I help?
Hello Charlie, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. How about you, sir?
I'm doing well also. Say, I have, excuse me, I have a question about the active tracking modes on the Mavic Pro. Can you help me with that?
Don't worry, I will be more than happy to help you regarding the active track of your Mavic Pro.
Okay, so I'm going to narrate this as well because this actually turned out to be an extremely long phone call. I'm glad that I had a long lunch break, but anyway, right now I'm explaining to Charlie how I had set up the active tracking and how it worked for me earlier, but how it didn't work for me with my pickup.
Did you experience any problem while using? Do you have any error message received using your DJI Go app?
I did not. The only one that I got was the large wind velocity, fly with caution. But the wind at the time was about 12 miles per hour.
Okay.
And we were traveling with the wind.
Before you fly your Mavic Pro and have this active track, were you able to do the compass calibration first before you fly?
I did not do the compass calibration first.
So how long you been flying with the Mavic Pro that time? You mean minutes?
Approximately 5 minutes, not even.
5 minutes. So and the battery is still full, right?
Oh yeah, it was fully charged battery.
So I just need to check all this information. Russell, would that be fine if I place the phone hold for 1 to 2 minutes?
Of course.
Just to investigate this one, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much. Hold on, please.
You bet. So this is the second time I've called customer service at DJI, and they're always very pleasant and very quick to help, and they always come back with a great answer, so hopefully they have one for us today. Okay, so right here Charlie is asking me what the conditions were while I was flying, like what was the terrain like, what was the weather like, and other things like that. He's just trying to gather as much information as possible to give me the correct answer.
Okay, so while flying, you did not have any difficulties with the GPS, right?
No, correct.
You have strong GPS. Okay.
Yes, I believe 18 satellites were locked on at the time.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I can actually tell you right. I can tell you right now. I had 18 locked on the entire trip.
Okay. By the way, is there any like, are you close to like an airport that can give like interference regarding the Mavic Pro?
I live exactly 5.0 miles away from a local airport, and it's a very small airport.
Okay. So I just need to have it fully investigated here, okay?
Of course.
By the way, would that be fine? Just working here in silence. Just ask me if you have any questions, okay?
Thank
Or
you.
if need me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I have it on mute right now. He does know that I'm talking to you guys right now, which is great. It's going to continue to provide good customer service, and that's good. So right here, Charlie is asking me what is my device that I use with my controller, and I explained to him that I had the Sony Xperia Z3, which is a couple years old, but he told me that that is one of the compatible devices for the DJI Go 4 app.
Okay. So it's compatible. But the thing here, Russell, since all the information you have a good GPS signal, you have the compatible device with the drone. What we need to do here is to have a compass calibration, since you need to do that every time you fly especially while using active features of the Mavic Pro.
Okay. All right.
So do you know how to do the compass calibration with the Mavic Pro?
Oh yeah, I've done it many times. I actually did it earlier. Earlier in the day, I did it when I first did the active tracking on my children in the yard, but I did not do it before this flight when I was following my pickup.
Okay. So I strongly advise, Ronald, every time you fly into a new location, let's say you fly you transfer to another location, it's best if you do the compass calibration to make sure that the features of the Mavic or the stability will be good.
Okay, that sounds good. One more question for you. This is something, the information I could not locate online or in the manual. When you pull up the active tracking mode, it brings up this slider that says speed priority, and the top of the slider is 49.2 miles per hour, and then you can change that slider. What exactly is that for? Okay, so here's where I asked Charlie about the speed priority slider, and I asked him to explain to me what that meant, and you'll see it takes a long time for him to figure it out. I think he was asking several people, plus he was going online himself. So he had a hard time finding it, so I don't feel so bad about not knowing what it was for exactly.
So let me go ahead and find the answer for that, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And right here, he actually asked me to send a screenshot showing what that speed priority slider looked like, which actually did not give me very much confidence in the answer that he was going to give me. But I obliged, and I sent him a screen capture of the speed priority slider.
Thank you so much for patiently waiting. I have now here the information about this speed priority, the picture that you sent to me.
Okay.
That is for the most or the fastest speed that you can do the active track. And since you can see that there will be an like the error message because of the large velocity of the wind. That's why that's the most that you can do. That's the most that you can apply the drone. So you can adjust that as well if you want to make it slower, or if you want to make it faster, that you can go to the most of it.
Yep, okay, I understand that, but is that to set the maximum speed of the Mavic or the maximum speed that you can travel with the subject you are tracking?
or you can forget that the Mavic can follow the object.
Okay. So can the Mavic fly 49.2 miles per hour?
Yes, that's since you have an error for the wind, the large wind velocity, 49.2 miles per hour is the fastest, the most.
Okay.
But if you have a good weather, there will be no wind velocity. It will be like you can go up to 65 miles per hour.
Really? 65 miles per hour?
65, yes.
Wow. So that took 50 minutes and 31 seconds to find out that I need to do the compass calibration, and the fastest I can go with the wind at that speed is 49 miles per hour. So there you have it. There, I got an answer from DJI. I'm really not very confident in Charlie's assessment of the speed priority slider. You know, he said that the Mavic Pro could go 65 miles per hour, and I have yet to see anything close to that. The fastest I've seen on YouTube is 33 miles per hour before it loses signal on active tracking. And maybe he's right. Maybe in ideal conditions, I mean, maybe with a wind behind you, maybe the Mavic Pro can go 65 miles per hour. So that's something that would be interesting to test out, and maybe I'll add that to a future video. But anyways, thank you for hanging in there with me today. It was kind of a long video, but I wanted to really test out that active tracking, and I really wanted to find out some information on why it didn't work for me. Now, what I'd like to see from you guys, or what I'd like to hear from you guys is, have you tried the active tracking on a vehicle, and how fast were you able to go with it? So from the future now, I'm going to start doing the compass calibration every time. I don't do it every time. I'm guilty of that. I only do it when it says please calibrate the compass, but I will calibrate it every time. So I'm going to actually go try that today. I'm going to calibrate my compass, see if that makes any difference on the active tracking, and I hope it works for you. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed to this channel. I love visiting with you guys, and you know what? You guys are all visiting with each other on my channel, and I love to see that, because that means my goal is being met of building a community of Mavic Pro owners. So it makes me very proud. I'm proud of you guys, and I hope you're proud of me. If you got anything out of this video, please click on that thumbs up. That really helps me out a lot. And you know what really helps me out the most is if you guys click on those links below in the description. Look down here in the description. You know, I have links which show all of my equipment that I use for my videos. And if you need anything for your Mavic Pro, go ahead and click on that and go ahead and order those. And even if you don't order any of those items, it still helps me out. If you buy anything from Amazon or DJI, helps me keep producing videos like this and keeps this channel growing. So I thank you so much, guys, for watching. As always, fly safe and fly smart.